overall goal today is to use a whole bunch of machine learning algorithms to predict stock data and then send this information over to MQTT and display that MQTT message on a display. The first step is to build artificial neural network. It's called NARX. So this particular neural network is built on MATLAB, and this video is a collaboration with my wife, and she does this for a living. She's familiar with MATLAB, that's why we started with this. MATLAB is a whole library or a suite of different codes that can be interconverted to C, Python, and a whole bunch of different languages that you're familiar with, and that's why scientists like this particular software. A lot of people in engineering like this software. It's pretty cool. So if you get a chance, you can try out MATLAB. It's not free, but if you get a chance, do use this particular software. It's pretty cool. What we are going to do first is build a library, and this particular library is for Python. So there's a Python library that can be imported, and what we're going to do is use data from IEX. They have a web API, so the web API is free, so you can actually get real-time stock data, which we're not doing. We're just going to get daily data from IEX, and then it processes it. It uses this library to predict what's going to be the future stock price, then sends that MQTT message to MQTT broker, and we love our ESP8266, so all we have to do is subscribe to the topics that this publishes to and then display it on a display. The first thing we want to do is actually give inputs. So inputs are, in our case, previous stock prices. Inputs could be what was the highest daytime price for a particular stock, what's the lowest price. Again, we are just using the most basic information for this particular step. You can put in as many inputs as possible. People like to see how many positive news about a particular company comes in, and they use that in their model. So a whole bunch of hedge funds actually just keep doing this. They build models based on different inputs. So that's why this is the most trending job right now, is actually data scientists. So all they do is they try to give better inputs in order to predict an output, and in this case our output is next day's stock price. So we're going to use this NARX, so it's an artificial neural network in MATLAB, and I call this magic. So this is pretty amazing at the ability that a machine can actually take these input and then predict the future of whatever we're trying to do. So the first step in building this NARX is actually read an input file. In our case, it's going to be an input file that contains previous days stock prices. It's going to have the highs and lows, opening price, closing price. So that is our input. Then what we do is define what our input is and what our output is. In our case, our output is the stock price. We're going to use this time delay neural network, and for that we divide the data into training, validation, and testing. So we also call this as cross validation. We're going to take this training data, and we're going to use this Levenberg market backpropagation methodology to actually train a particular network. So to do that, we actually use hidden neurons. So we define the number of hidden neurons, and we define the time delays, and then we save this trained neural network model. So this is the most time consuming step. So once we save our trained neural network model, what we do is then we cross validate it. So this is done in order to prevent overfitting, and then what we do is we take this testing data, which is a portion of your input data, and then test it and see how good this particular model is. If you're satisfied with this particular model, then you create an output, you predict one step ahead, and that is your output. So this is what is happening inside this particular MATLAB library. I'm not going to go into the details of what is happening in this code. What I've done is I've created a Python library that you can download. So I'm going to leave the links below. In the link you can download this stock Python library, and then you need to install 2017 a MATLAB runtime 9.2. So this is free. You can just download this and install it. You can install it on Linux or Windows or a Mac, and the links can be found here. And then finally, this particular stock, you need to unzip it and then install this Python library. So just by typing Python setup.py and then install. Let's look at the Python script. So the first thing that the Python script does is connects to this IEX. So IEX has stock data for the last 5 years that you can retrieve for free. What we do is we import this particular data reader to import this data. Then we defined the 5-year time. That's why we have this date time. So it downloads last 5 years data and stores it into CSV file. To use this library, all you have to do is type in import stock. This is after you have installed it. Then define some symbol that, let's say you want to check the stock price of Tesla, so TSLA, and then you initialize this particular library and do all these predictions, basically predict the high, low, open, and then that is stored in a variable. And what we do next is put these variables into MQTT topic. So in order to do that in Python, you need to install Paho MQTT and define your server, define the port, and then publish this particular data that you calculated. So the most time consuming step is the previous step, that is your calculation of these predictions. Once that is done, it disconnects. On the microcontroller side, all we have is an MQTT server, and our microcontroller connects to the MQTT, retrieves these values and displays it on the screen. So I like this new async MQTT protocol. Is better than PubSub client. I'm going to leave the links below, and we are also going to use SSD 1306 library to drive this particular OLED display. Again, all the code for this is most basic. All we're doing is subscribing to a topic and displaying it on a display. So I'm going to leave the links below. So there you go. So go ahead and build some machine learning algorithms and try to build something useful, so that you see you can like predict stocks and use a microcontroller and see what's happening in that particular stock prediction. You can even have like an LED connected to this, like you can have the LED go green or red based on what your machine learning algorithm is telling you, that is you want to buy or sell. So you can do all those kind of things once you get your model built correctly. So there you go. Goodbye.